We greet our Antantulla Appam readers in the mighty name of the Lord Jesus. It's 10th of September, the Sunday, year 2023. Today, let's meditate on the topic, Call to Remain. Brethren, let each one remain with God in that state in which he was called. From the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 7, verse 24. God has called each one in a unique manner. Each one has distinct responsibilities, talents, and ministries. The name of the Lord will be glorified when you remain in the state in which you were called. Imagine 20 athletes participating in a race. Each one has to run his race in the track allocated to him. And if an athlete were to cross his track and intrude into another track, then he will be disqualified from the race. There was a believer who was called to be an evangelist, and through that ministry, he was able to win thousands of souls for Christ. Even when he was successful as an evangelist, he suddenly took up the role of a pastor in a church. To justify his sudden change from being an evangelist to a pastor, he said, I am not able to run the family with the income from being an evangelist. If I become a pastor, I will not only get the tithe of the believers and will not have to travel to many locations as I do now. I can stay put in one place and give a better education to my children. Despite all his expectations, his ministry as a pastor did not prove to be a blessing. Pastor Paul Yonggi in the early days of his ministry wanted to be like evangelist Billy Graham. He listened to the sermons of Billy Graham repeatedly and started to preach like him. One day the Lord spoke to him and said, My son, you be yourself. Do not try to be like someone else. When you remain in your calling, I will exalt you in due time. Therefore, we do not need to follow the style of someone else. You don't need to fit into the shoes of someone else. Therefore, try to develop your individuality. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? And God has appointed these in the church. First apostles, second prophets, third teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, administrations, varieties of tongues. From the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 12, verses 29 and 28. There are many parts in our body, and God has anointed specific functions for each part of the body. While it is so, the hand should not try to become the leg, and the leg can never become the eye. If the whole body were an eye, where would be the hearing? If the whole were hearing, where would be the smelling? God has placed each part in the body according to His will. Therefore, as children of God, you should remain in your calling and fulfill God's will and purpose for you. Verse for further meditation from the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verses 4 to 6. There are diversities of gifts but the same Spirit. There are differences of ministries but the same Lord. And there are diversities of activities but it is the same God who works all in all. Today's Bible reading, meditation for morning from the book of Proverbs chapter 8 and chapter 9. Bible reading for the evening from the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 3.